we have Cale Clayton.
Can't hear you.
Cale Clayton, how's that?
There you go.
Okay. And Cale says he's a God-fearing father of 3, a husband to the love of his life, Alicia. Did I say that right? Okay, Alicia. Okay. I am a conservative patriot who loves my country and is proud to be an American. I have been a carpenter for almost 20 years. I protested the stolen 2020 election on behalf of my family and friends. Thank you, Cale. We have Isaac Yoder, and a resident of Vernon County, Missouri. Is a husband, father, business owner, and a God-loving American. He is a lover of history, but more specifically, the Revolutionary War era. Can you tell? Okay. He was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, dressed as one of the founding fathers, George Washington. Life changed tremendously after that day for him and his family. He was prosecuted by the Biden administration and found guilty of 4 misdemeanors. With no former criminal history, he was sentenced to 1 year in federal prison and 1 year probation. Through it all, he saw the hand of God protect and guide him and his family during 4 years of trial and hardship. Thank you. And we have Jason Wallis, who's a Christian, a husband and father, and a freedom lover. He's an oath keeper that protested a stolen election for the future of my family and children. Thank you, Jason. And then we have Jared Owens. He's a child of God, father of 3 boys, construction farmer, and a J6er. And thank you so much. And we have their wives here.
But she's here, yeah.
Okay, and let's see.
I'm Laura, Jason's
Laura,
wife.
okay, this is Laura, Jason's wife.
Rachel.
Rachel, she's the one with the little ones, right? Yeah, okay, she's taking care of them. And then we have Alicia. And she belongs to Cole, and Rachel, is it Rachel? Kelly, okay, I'm sorry. Kelly, and you belong to?
George Washington.
George Washington. Yeah, okay. I'm having a hard time remembering all that, but we're so glad you're all here. So we're just ready to.
I'm not on it. Am I on?
Should we?
All right. So what we're gonna do, the way we're gonna do this tonight is they're each gonna just kind of introduce themselves and talk about it, and then they're just gonna, whatever they want to say, they've got the floor for about an hour and a half. So we're just so thankful. Gentlemen, if you'll please stand up whenever you speak so that when they can identify or see who you are. Okay, I don't know. But you guys might have to share. Sorry about that. All right.
Who wants to go first?
Let Washington go first.
Hi, Daddy. I was in the
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can everyone in the back hear me? Louder? I have a small voice. So yeah, my name is Isaac Yoder. I'm from Vernon County, all the way on the other side of the state, over by Kansas, and we're happy to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting us. But yeah, I went to Washington, D.C. on January 6th with several members of my family, some of my brothers, my dad, and a niece and nephew. You know, it was even though it was a serious thing, you know, it was also a family event. It was, you know, we've been there on November 14th for the Stop the Steal rally, which was also a great event. Hundreds of thousands of people there too at that time. And so when we went back on January 6th, we figured it would be similar as far as, you know, there is government there. We figured they could keep law and order, you know, but as everyone knows, there was entrapment and we were set up. But the reason why I bring up the fact that, yes, we had, you know, a couple of our children were with us, it was just showing that, yes, we were there as a family at a peaceful event just to show up and say, to encourage our legislators to do the right thing. And of course, we know how that it didn't go well that day, but that's how it started out. And I don't know how. I know that we were supposed to just kind of make those introductory statements first, and then if there's other questions, we'll get into that. But I will let the next. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
There you go.
My name is Jason Wallis. I'm usually not accused of having a soft voice, so man, this typically not something that I normally talk about. I don't usually engage in like a public speaking event like this, but I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be here. We're living in some pretty crazy times right now, and with last week's events, I initially didn't know how engaged I was going to be in this, but I just feel like it's time for us to really come together as a nation and fight the spiritual fight that's in front of us. I mean, we are literally fighting against demons, and there's no more time, I think, to stand by. I mean, we're on a precipice. So as far as just an introduction about myself, I was born in Missouri, St. Louis, and I actually lived, raised down here in St. Genevieve County on a 500-acre farm. Very God-fearing Christian conservative family growing up. I was raised in private schools. I was born in 1974, and when I was a young man, they didn't teach this same stuff about America. Like, we learned about American exceptionalism and just all the good stuff that was going on, the things America did around the world. I was never taught to hate the country like kids are these days. And I joined the military right out of high school. I served 5 years in the Army, and ETS'd in 1997 and came back and just tried to integrate into a civilian workforce. Spent a lot of time in the body shop business, and I was pretty unengaged in politics. I didn't care too much about it, but during the Obama years, I just started, I guess, getting an awakening. I started waking up in 2008, and years past that where, I was hearing almost on a daily basis just about white Christian males and veterans were the biggest threat to democracy. And this is just something I couldn't comprehend. And I felt like it was just beat into us at that time. I really feel like the Obama years was when it started getting me engaged and wondering why I was hearing these things. I mean, I couldn't understand how I was being told that I was the biggest threat to the country when I loved the country. I supported the country, supported the military, served. But, during those times, it's just something that we put up with. I continued to go to work, and in the 2016 election, Trump came around, and he was a controversial figure, but you can like stuff about him. A lot of people, he's a very controversial figure. I supported Trump from day one in 2016 just because I was, I liked the America First agenda, and it's just something that I wanted to get on board with. I was ready for change. I supported Trump during his first administration, and we get into the 2020 election and everything that happened from the first administration, and I knew the election was stolen. I had been attending Trump rallies for a long time, and I went with some friends to Washington, D.C. I didn't go with my family. My wife graciously let me go to Washington, D.C. and sent me off, and we had no expectations of what was going to happen that day. We had no idea. We drove my truck and my camper out to a campground in Maryland on January 5th and spent the day in Washington, D.C. Before the Stop the Steal rally, and then on January 6th during the Stop the Steal rally, we were there all day, man. It was great. There was no indication that stuff like what happened was going to happen. When we came from the ellipse and came down to the Capitol grounds, we never crossed a police line, we never crossed any barricades, we never saw any signs. we just peacefully walked onto the Capitol lawn. And we got there, you know, I don't even know exactly what time we got there, but there was some chaos up in front of us, and we were there, and we were around a group of Americans. There were people of all ages and colors and ethnicities, and it was peaceful in the back of the West Terrace where we were at. And even though there was some chaos going on in front, we were not engaged with that. And you know, the Capitol Police that day, they attacked us. I have 4K cell phone video of police shooting rubber bullets, flashbangs, and tear gas at us and landing in our feet in front of us. And we helped people get out of those clouds of tear gas that day, and we just decided to turn around and engage the police. It made a lot of people mad. There was a lot of angry Americans that day, and it's just something we got wrapped up into, and honestly don't have any remorse. I feel justified for being there that day, and under the same circumstances I would go back. I spent 111 days in Washington, D.C., and we got out on bond. I got out on bond and spent another 370 days in my house, unable to step off the porch or work in 2024. And it was a pretty crazy time. When I was arrested in October of 28th of 2023, no, it's November. What was it? It was October 28th of 2023. I was general contracting a house. It's about 60% done, and got raided by 30 federal agents. And I had to leave my nice young wife. She had to figure out how to finish that up and get it to a point where I could move into it. So she took over as a general contractor and gave me a place to come back home. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll all talk, and there are questions, and I'll answer any questions you guys got. But January 6th it's definitely a life-changing event. I mean, I knew for a couple years that I suspected they were watching me. I saw what was happening to other Jan 6ers, and we live in a pretty rural part of the area. You can start seeing government vehicles drive up and down the road, and you know, they spent almost 2 years surveilling us, surveilling me specifically, following me around the country when I worked out of state, doing drive-bys on the house. It was crazy. I know I'm rambling, probably a little bit all over the place, but the amount of time and money that the federal government spent rounding us up in the fashion that they did, and it's crazy to me still to this very day what they did and the resources that they used. And I was charged with eight different crimes, ranging from misdemeanors to felony, including felony assault on a police officer for pushing a bike rack towards them. And we had fabricated charges too of severe bodily injury on a police officer. We had the same charges, and they were completely fabricated. And that's one of the reasons that we got out on bond. Jared is my co-defendant, and he'll get to talk here in a minute, but he was in a bond hearing, and they got the government to read an incident report that showed in that bond hearing that the female police officer that they accused of as injuring was injured at a completely different time and a completely different part of the Capitol grounds. And the judge, he had enough discernment to realize that was an issue, and I think that's one of the only reasons we got on bond. And I'm so thankful for that. But I love all my January 6th brothers and sisters out there, and I got one staying in my house right now. There's a lot of people struggling after January 6th, trying to get back on their feet. People's lives have been uprooted. I mean, they try to destroy all of us. So, and there's people are, in different levels of struggle, trying to get back to some kind of normalcy. And anyway, that's kind of who I am and how I ended up at Jan 6th. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with the retribution and these lawsuits. I'm grateful that I'm able just to have my freedom. I've always been autonomous and able to provide my own way. And I'm just thankful that Trump pardoned us on January 21st. He kept his word. One of the few people that kept their word in any government institution, and I'm thankful for that. So things have been good since the pardon. We own basically a paintless dent repair company. We fix hail damage on cars, and I travel to do that, and I do it all over St. Louis. And it just happened to be 2024 was one of a very heavy storm year. While I was locked up and I was watching hail fall all over the place, but there's still so much work. I was able just to kind of combat roll up out of a presidential pardon and get right back to work. A lot of people are not that fortunate. So I've kind of put my life back together in a pretty short amount of time. There's a lot of support from our local community and church, and just outpouring of support all over the country. And I just want to thank everybody that stood behind the Jan Sixers. So.
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Jared Owens. I'm Jason's co-defendant. They would have given us all that time, 12 to 15 years is what my public defender told me I was looking at. But and we're just 1 inch away from being there right now. But by the grace of God, he preserved Trump and he preserved us, and he's going to preserve our nation, and we're going to have the golden age. These babies, that's what I do it for. Like Jan said, do it for these kids, you know. But yeah, it was not fun. They watched us for 2 years. They watched me go to church every Sunday, go to the farmer's market on Saturday, and work Monday through Friday. They just saw as a regular guy doing regular guy things, and they still decided to arrest me. I was picked up by Farmington Police Department. They, my license plate triggered on a license plate reader, and Farmington Police Department come running over there as fast as they can. They're like, "Oh, you got an FBI warrant." I go, "Okay." For what? I knew what for. My wife's like, "Oh, you think it's something to do with January 6th? Shut up. She told me don't do anything stupid, so I deserve it. But so I'm sitting in county jail over the weekend. The FBI still comes and raids our house, comes in on my wife and my mother-in-law, knowing that I'm in jail. I'm in jail. They still raid her, put her and her mom through it. Ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I mean, of all the crime in this country, they just, we walked through an open door into the Capitol. We're giving the police a little bit of trouble, but they were mean. So.
Nice shot.
They were beating on us. Yeah, that's all I got to say. But God's been really good to me. We've been able to rebuild our life, and there are a lot of guys that are not doing good. I'm in a lot of J6 group chats, and I see all the time guys struggling to find work. They're still dealing, like the internet's still full. You Google any of our names, and it's still full of insurrectionists and all that good stuff. But it's going to change. It's going to change, and one day, I think everybody will see that it's I think it'll be a national holiday one day. That's just what I think. But anyway, I'm going to pass this on. Thank you guys for having us. It's so awesome to see so many Patriots. And I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, you got one? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cale Clayton, and of course, I'm a J6er. I just want to give myself a quick introduction. I want to thank Jesus Christ for allowing this to all happen. I want to thank Jan for giving us a voice in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Or Guardians of the Galaxy.
I knew I was going to say that. It's been in my mind, like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Liberty. I knew I was going to say.
Started as a grassroots movement.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you guys, and it's just like you said, it's awesome to see everybody here. So many patriots here. And I want to thank Donald Trump for pardoning us. I have my pardon right here, and just want to thank him. He's the only president that I know of that keeps his word and does what he says he's going to do. So, I guess the main point I want to make tonight is just I want to shed light on January 6th and what I seen there and what I felt, and just kind of like, it just seems like the narrative out there is so negative about it, but there was so many good things that happened at January 6th that it was just really a time of unity. Like Jason said, there was, I mean, everybody was there. There was every color, creed, people of every background. Very diverse crowd. Sometimes they've done done documentaries on J6, and they really want to portray it as something that it's really not, and it just makes me sick to see that, because it labels us people that we're not, and it's just character assassination on us. But yeah, January 6th, it was, like I said, it was just patriots come together who love their country, who they seen an obvious stolen election, and it wasn't just the stolen election that was the issue. I mean, if you look at his entire first term, the media was against him, the Congress was against him. I mean, Nancy Pelosi ripped up the transcripts of the State of the Union address on live television in front of everybody. They had painted Trump as a racist because of Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was like a huge hoax. You had the impeachment hoax. I mean, all the stuff we've seen through, it was all blatant lies. And so I feel like really his first, they were really starting to try to destroy America at that point. And then we had COVID hit and all the lies and everything that surrounded that, and all the censorship that was going on, with social media. And, that's right there. That is our First Amendment right that was being trampled on. And we're living it, And so that was so much of that stuff adding up and building up to then the 2020 election, and they steal it. And everybody there were so many first times in that election, first time mail-in ballots, first time counting 2 weeks after the election is over. There was just so many firsts in it. You can just go on. And so anyhow, I just remember looking at my family, and I was just like, if they're going to do it this time, they're going to do it again. And I mean, we've got to, we're going to have to stand up to this. This is ridiculous. And I can't let my kids grow up in a communist country, And so I went to January 6th. I went with an older gentleman, an old Vietnam vet. Love him dearly. And we went there actually we showed up the night before and went to, there was some pre-rally thing that was going on. Went to that, and then went to the eclipse and listened to the rally. Went to the rally. First Trump rally I've ever been to was that one. Never been to a political rally whatsoever, but went to that, and we enjoyed it. And we just we were in a back and really couldn't hear very well. And there was so many people there. I mean, it was just insane. I'm from a small town, less than 1,000 people. I've never seen that many people in my entire life. This is a huge crowd, in my opinion. And so we couldn't hear very well, but anyhow, we had to go to the bathroom really bad, truth be told, and there was really no Johnny on the spots. And so we were looking for a bathroom, me and my friend, and we found one. It was a little ways away away from the eclipse, and so when we got out, I think the rally was over, and so we just get with the group of people that are walking towards the Capitol, Constitution Avenue. And So when we get there, again, it was very peaceful. You know, a lot of people just chanting USA, USA. We sang the national anthem. People were praying. Very, very patriotic, and it was awesome. It was, like I said, just very unifying. And as Jason mentioned, as it seemed like it was pretty peaceful. I do remember seeing there was like a buffer zone between the police line and the protesters, and it seemed like agitators that were in that area, and they were really kind of agitating, just kind of flailing their arms around, kind of pacing back and forth, screaming and hollering, and really trying to get the crowd pumped up and everything. I really couldn't understand. It was so loud. I really couldn't understand what they were saying. And I was towards the back a little bit. And then, like Jason said, that's when the police, Capitol Police, this was on the lower terrace, and they started shooting down upon the protesters indiscriminately. And I just remember pointing up, and I was pointing it out to my friend, of like, they're shooting at us right now. I can't tell what they're shooting us with, but they're shooting at us, and they were shooting down. And that went on for about 10, 15 minutes, and then that's when the flashbang grenades were thrown right in the middle of the crowd. And like I said, there was all ages there. I mean, I remember seeing younger kids there, elderly, and it didn't matter who you were. They were throwing the flashbang grenades right into the crowd.
Or what you were doing.
Or what you were doing. I mean, these people at this point were just standing there doing absolutely nothing except singing or chanting or whatever. And then they also started throwing tear gas canisters into the crowd as well. At that point, there was a large group of people that was still coming in from the cliffs through the back, or through, pushing in from the back, and so really there was like no way for people to go. It was bottlenecked in this area, and I just remember at that point we were like covering our faces because the tear gas was choking us out, and we didn't really have anywhere to go, and like by the time we kind of got our eyes cleared off, and it was kind of watering and crying and whatnot because the tear gas, the crowd seemed to just it just went forward, like it kind of released whatever. I have no idea what happened, but at that point everything opened up and we was able to walk onto the Capitol. So I made it up to the upper terrace, and again, there was many agitators up there with bullhorns, just getting the crowd fired up and routed up. I don't know who they were, or if they were. I have no idea. So I just, there was a lot of weird things. I've seen people in SWAT gear. I don't know who they were. A lot of these things I just noticed, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. This is just weird. I was very naive at the time. I wasn't even thinking about entrapment or infiltration, or I was aware Antifa was there because we've seen the white buses, the infamous white buses that they always travel in, where they're bussed in. But other than that, and so I end up getting felonies, disorderly conduct. I had a 111As, which was assault, impeding an officer, or resisting arrest. So I ended up pleading out to 2, and I got sentenced for 30 months. Spent 13 months at Springfield Medical Center, and then I had 3 months of in-home confinement, 3 months of halfway house, and then 1 month of in-home confinement. Then I got pardoned on January 20th. So we missed out on quite a bit. While I was in prison, my stepmom passed away. All my kids going through playing their sports, and missed out on my daughter's all of her 8th grade year. Missed out on my son's 4th grade year, and I don't want to paint my scenario as like this doom and gloom, because I really, be honest with you, through the whole thing, I want to give like a message of hope, because I truly feel like God had his hand on me the whole time. And I'll give you an example is the day I got arraigned, which was, it was in March of 2022. The FBI came to my house and they came in like 12 cars deep, right? But like a lot of J6ers that got swatted, they didn't swat my house. I don't know why. I can't explain it. They came in, they had their lights on, they didn't turn their sirens on, they didn't even draw their weapons. They came in, they actually texted my wife, they called her and asked her to come out of the house. I don't know why. They didn't want to wake my kids. They were very professional. I'm like, I was already on my way to work, and I go home, and I get a call from the FBI, said, hey, Mr. Clayton, we're at your house. Can you please come back home? I'm like, okay. So I go back, and, you know, they were very professional, and I don't know why they treated me different. But I do remember, so that day, I was, had to go to court and have my arraignment hearing, and they released me. A lot of J6ers, they didn't. They kept them from then all the way to their hearing, all the way to their sentencing, or they took them to DC or whatever. They released me. I don't know why they released me, but all I can chalk it up to is God's hand was on me. You know, as I just got to give him the glory. The day I was arraigned, that evening I took my son to soccer practice, and I'm sitting there in my wife's car, and I'm like, you know, just have the weight of the world on my shoulders, and you know, like the Holy Spirit was tugging on me, is, you know, you need to get into God's Word, and I just happened to look back into the back seat. My wife's Bible was back there, and I flipped it open, and I flipped it right to Daniel 3, and I started reading, and it was talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego getting put in the fire furnace. And, you know, I read that whole chapter, and it just spoke to me so profoundly, like, okay, God, Jesus, you're the fourth person in that fire, and you're going to protect me, you're going to see me through this. Amen. And I just, you know, I was like, you know, and I just felt like the weight just be lifted off my chest and off my shoulders. And so I get on reading it, and I turned on a radio, and my wife was listening to a bot radio, and Pastor Alan Jackson was on, and he was preaching over Daniel 3 at that time. And I was like, okay, all right, God, I hear you. I'm listening. So, you know, from that point, I felt just a piece of that, you know, that surpasses all understanding, and I couldn't. Now, don't get me wrong, it was tough. You know, I was still in the fire, and but I ended up self-surrendering August 16th to Springfield. I had to go to Springfield, which was only 2.5 hours away from my house. Again, other J6ers, no matter where they lived in the United States, they were shipped 500, 600, 700 miles from their house for no reason at all. You know, for some reason, like the hand of God was on me, and I got to be only 2.5 hours where my wife and kids can come see me every other weekend. And my dad was only 1.5 hours away, and he could see me on the other weekends. So it's like I had a visit almost every weekend. It's, you know, it was just so amazing to see how God worked through all these, you know, these trials, but at the same time strengthened me. You know, I just kind of made it a point that when I come back from prison, I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be a better man. You know, I'm going to be a better husband, a better father, be stronger in my faith, and I hope that's happened. I feel like it has, but it's been a crazy ride, and really January 6th was just the beginning. It was just the beginning of the journey. because, it still goes on. I mean, I would never be here. There's no way I'd ever stand in front of 100 people and speak about anything. But, it's just, it's amazing. And let me tell you, when I was in prison, the letters I received from patriots all around the country it's what got me through. Just to know, because we were abandoned by our lawmakers, I felt like. The Republican Party didn't want to touch us. They didn't want to touch us at all. Like we were the plague, and obviously the Democrats were never going to touch us, but it was just, we felt completely abandoned, but to have the outpouring of love, and for people that I don't even consider myself a hero, but people write me and saying, you're my hero. I'm like, I'm just a man. I'm just a simple man, just love my country, and I just wanted to stand up for what I believe in. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that's here supporting us, and I want to thank everybody in the United States that did that. It's just amazing. But yeah, my main point is I just hope that people realize that January 6th was the intentions of January 6th. Whether some things happened there, yes, I'm fully aware of that. But the main intention is that it's a peaceful, unifying protest. That we were exercising our First Amendment right, and that we all are patriots. We love our country, and that's the hill we had died on. So I think I speak for every Jason about that.
Absolutely.
So anyhow, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Keep talking. You want to take questions from the crowd? Go ahead.
I just want to say it was beautiful. Like until they started shooting us, and I'm like, this guy down here, like I've never seen that many people. I've been to ball games, been to music festivals. I've never seen that many people. When we were all descending on the Capitol, like
you couldn't even see over the
it was
hill.
a sea
it was
of
just
people.
an endless sea of people.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem to me like the estimates that they said seemed very low to me. Like I've never
There
seen
was
that
a
many people
bazillion.
in my life.
At least. No, there was a bunch of people, and it was so beautiful. And I know that what they did to us, they did for several reasons. And one of the main reasons I feel like is that if the rest of the country could have seen how unified we were, how peaceful, and how we just, we prayed, we sang. I could ask a stranger for a bottle of water, but I felt like my family was there. And they accused us of trying to overthrow the government, but nobody even brought a sandwich. That's what I always say. Much less a musket or something. I don't know. But that's all I had to say. It was beautiful. It was very beautiful until they turned it violent. And they did that so that the rest of America wouldn't stand up. And we're fixing to show them we're not scared. So I'm passing it on.
I'll touch on one thing he said. The local law enforcement. I was arrested by the Franklin County PD at about 9 o'clock at night, and they took me to the Union. They were very professional. They just came and they asked me why I might have a warrant, and I said I would have no idea. And they arrested me and took me there. I spent the weekend in the Franklin County Jail in Union. And I was picked up on Monday morning by an FBI agent and a federal marshal. And they were very nice, but I was given in the car an ultimatum. We were coming down Highway 50 towards 44, and a few miles before you got on the highway, they had me cuffed and black boxed and shackled down like they do when they transport you. And they said, listen, we can either go left, go to the city, to the federal courthouse, or you can cooperate with us and we can go to your house. There's a team of federal agents sitting on the service road waiting for your answer. He said, if you choose to go to the city, we're gonna SWAT your house. And she was there in a construction zone living in a camper. And I initially said I'm not gonna cooperate, and then they showed me pictures of, they turned around while we were driving, and the FBI agent showed me pictures of myself on the Capitol grounds, and what they wanted was items of clothing that I had on that day. So I thought about it for a second, and I thought to myself that I felt like I was identified, and I didn't want my wife to go through a swatting incident by herself, and I opted to tell them that I will go and I'll show them where the items are that they were looking for. So they turned right down the service road, and there was a weigh station, and they pulled into the weigh station, and there was 15 cars sitting there, and probably 30 fully kitted up federal agents ready to tear the place apart. But I would say that, I guess the point I was trying to make is the local law enforcement, they did not SWAT me, and they were very professional at my house. I was even told by some of the people that lived locally, some of the federal agents, that they were sad that they had to do this, but I'm just like, well, sounds familiar. You're just doing your job, violating people's rights. And they were super professional, though. They didn't tear anything up. They were in and out. I told them where a couple items were that I still knew I had from January 6th, and they got them, and they left. The local law enforcement was very professional with me, the FBI and the marshals. And I guess eventually we spent 2 weeks down in Crawford County, and then we were, the weird part about this, and it became a Con Air movie where we were transported to Scott Air Force Base and walked out on a tarmac with I don't know, I've never seen that many people with guns. It was like something you see in a movie. There were solid white Department of Corrections planes on the Scott Air Force Base tarmac, and they walked us out, and basically that's when they integrated us into a federal system. Black boxed us. They treated me differently than they treated you for some reason.
Because you're so tall.
They did. They accused me of being a leader on January 6th because I was the tallest one in our group, and I was in the front, looking over everybody, figuring out where to go. So I was black boxed and shackled down, worse, and surrounded by marshals on the planes. But they threw us in the Oklahoma City Federal Transfer Center in a pod with 250 hardened criminals. We have. I mean, literally with one guard in there. These are people that were being transported around the country, going to different facilities that had been in the prison system for a long time, with a wide range of, murderers and just the worst criminals you can think of. And I'm like, this is really interesting. Not convicted or sentenced or convicted of anything, and you got us in a federal Bureau of Prison facility. So I found that interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to, that's the point I was trying to make, that the local law enforcement was very, very professional. So.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
So I'll just speak about my time in Springfield. I got the privilege to spend time with Isaac there. We both were sentenced at Springfield. But the reason why that I kind of found out a little bit about how the prison system works is probably because of your military background is why you had the little bit extra precautions done to you.
Yeah.
So in Springfield, I think this was pretty much nationwide, is us J6ers, majority of us, I'm not gonna say all, but majority of us are first time offenders. Never been in trouble in our entire life. I mean, not even, like, they looked at my record, it was squeaky clean. And I had lawyers who were like, my public defender for one, and then some of the other lawyers in her office were like, you might get 120 days shock time, or you might get probation, and then they come back, the prosecutors come back with 30 months. And I'm like, okay, I'm toast, And there was, you know, the way they sentenced us compared to other criminals, it was egregious. You know, they were making an example out of January 6th. And it was, you know, it was plainly seen. Misdemeanors spent a year in prison. There was many guards at Springfield, like, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen anybody in here for misdemeanors in my life. So, anyhow, but come to find out, us J6ers were labeled domestic terrorists in the prison system. We were right up there with Al Qaeda, you know what I mean? And that was actually, I'll just say I had a source tell me that while I was in at Springfield. With that kind of label on you, you get extra scrutiny from the guards. You don't get some of the privileges like other inmates would get, as far as being able to work outside, being able to make as much. You know, you can make a little bit of money, not much at all, but you know, you don't get those certain higher end jobs if you are a domestic terrorist and you got that label on you. They would not house domestic or J6ers in the same buildings. In our prison, at least, there was normally about 3 of us there at one time, and there was 3 different housing buildings. So they would keep us in each different house. Each housing building would hold about 185 to 250 inmates. So, but yeah, we did at Springfield. We would get to meet up, us J6 guys, because we felt like we weren't drug dealers, we weren't, you know, violent felons or nothing. So we kind of congregated together. We had like political beliefs, and we, you know, most of us were Christians. I would say all of us were Christians there. So, so Isaac and I, and we another gentleman, Larry Brock, and Taylor Jonatakis, and another guy named John Grace. You know Taylor? Okay. John Mott was another guy. He only got 30 days, but you know, we would at 6 o'clock we had what's called J6 at 6. And so we would meet up at the yard at 6 o'clock, and we would either have a Bible study, scary, you know, or you know, Isaac would usually bring a whole bowl full of candy, and that was his dinner. And you know, but we would have, you know, we just sit around and we'd talk and just, you know, it was our time to kind of actually have a little bit of normalcy in our life. And it was really nice to have that, those group of guys in there, because I'm gonna tell you what, one of the hardest things for prison for me was just being there, and you're just feeling like, man, I just don't belong here. You know, like what these people talk about is like way over my head, and it's about things that I don't even care about, and I don't even want to know about. You know, it's like I don't even want to know about what your guys' past life is. Now, I will say this. Prison is one of the biggest mission fields there is out there. I mean, every one of them men need Jesus. And it was good in that aspect that I could live my life for Christ and be an example for them. But, you know, it just, the things they talk about would just be like, it'd wear on you. So it was nice to have that on. You know, every night we would get together, we would talk, we'd have the Bible study or just whatever, you know, just talk about our family. So, but you know, I don't know if you guys experienced that, if you guys got to do it. What you got to DC?
Well, yeah, we got to the. I mean, as a crazy experience. Like, so the thing that's got me off guard. So, I was in Franklin County. We were in Crawford County down here. The Federal Transfer Center was a pretty nice facility. When we were flown from Oklahoma City to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, we were basically on a Bureau of Prison plane, they landed on the tarmac, and then there's all these buses waiting on the tarmac for all the prisoners to get off and be transported in diesel therapy to all of the prospective locations that they're going to. Most everybody got on a bus. We're the last ones off that plane, and they sent a special little car for us because we were so dangerous. So it was just Jared and I on a car, and we rode with two marshals from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, down to Washington, D.C. The Washington, D.C. jail is where I was taken back. We were checked into the Washington, D.C. jail, and you were put into a 10-day, what do they call it, involuntary protective custody. So they put you in a general population in a place called South 2. The cell's literally probably 50 square foot. We got there before Thanksgiving weekend, and the cell would flood every night, biohazard and blood smeared on the wall, and you could lay in the cots and count endless amounts of rats coming into your cell. And that's what I was taken back by the Washington. I did not ever in my 50 years of living think that there were facilities like that in the United States. I couldn't even imagine the inside of a jail that had those conditions in them. That's something I still think about. I'm blown away at how poor the facilities are and the lack of just hygiene. And the DC County Jail is designed not to hold prisoners long term. They made an exception for Jan 6ers. So there's no kind of long-term diets. People were getting ill, falling ill, having all kinds of health problems. They wouldn't let us outside. We were so dangerous. They didn't let people cut their hair. You couldn't cut your nails. I looked like a wizard after 111 days. So it's something that I've thought a lot about, and just being involved in our church. Prison and jails need reform. They are not places that you can go to and be rehabilitated. You will come out on the back end, a different person. I'm not saying come out a bad person, but you're going to come out a different person. For sure, if you spend any length of time in those places. I was fortunate, my lawyer, they pushed things out, and it was your attorneys did the same thing. We were never convicted, so my lawyer just continued to push things out. We wanted to see what happened with the election, so we were pardoned before we had to go to trial. But I would have been in prison now. Our trial was April 14th, and like I said, we would have probably got to 8 to 12 years. So prisons need reformation. They're horrible places that people really don't get help.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get the mic and take it around. Are you guys ready to take questions right now? From Washington. All right, sorry. Ready? Yes, sir. If you'll hold your hand high.
Yeah, I have a question about the day of it. Who are the guys that were throwing these flashbangs and gas and everything on you? Were they the Capitol Police?
Capitol Police.
And if they had all the supplies ready and they turned down extra help, what the hell did they have all that stuff up there for?
Exactly.
It was set
They were the Capitol Police and the DC Police, I think. They're like Metro PD or whatever.
Yeah.
There's some good footage. I think StopHate.com is the name of the website. They have a lot of footage. They break it down. The initial police line collapsed because they gassed themselves out. They shot the gas into the wind, and they gassed themselves out and ran back. Everybody's like, oh, let's go check this out. Y'all ever been up here? So,
What was the website?
StopHate.com, I think.
All right. All right, Richard? Sorry.
While you guys were in jail, were you ever concerned or feared for your being, about getting beat up or whatever?
In Washington,
I don't think anybody bother you.
Well, yeah, they would have tried. So they basically had us on an involuntary protective custody the entire time we were in DC jail. So when we were in general population, They threatened us all the time. They'll tell you, come out of this, we catch you out of the cell, we're gonna stab you. That's just like 10 days, 8 days we were in general population in South 2 before we went to the J6 pod that was in there, which was heaven on earth compared to South 2. It was nothing but, there was about 30 Jan 6ers in the J6 pod, and it was completely segregated from the rest of the jail. And the protocols were so strict, they wouldn't even, like when we were walking around the jail, we had to be going from one place to the other. They wouldn't even let other inmates from anywhere in the facility even be in the same hallway as us. So they knew that they wanted to kill us, and it would have been a real bad look to let us die in the District of Columbia at the hands of somebody. So they went to pretty great lengths to keep us away from the rest of the general population in the jail.
I have a question. We showed Let My People Go at a meeting one time. So I think somebody told me who was in, one of you all were in there in the movie?
Oh, no, I was not.
Isaac was in it.
Isaac was in it.
You were in the movie?
You were?
He must have been an extra.
He was in prison when it came out, so he didn't see it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in prison.
Professor Clements?
Yes, I remember now. Yeah, no, I was in prison when it came out, so I didn't. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was in prison when it came out, so I didn't see it. But I did want to also say something to what you were saying about just it's an interesting thing. So while there was these abuses and like the overreaction from the government about us, while we were in Springfield in the prison there was one time where one of the inmates he was getting threatening with me, and for some reason it was at a time when there were certain people just didn't really see it. Anyway, I ended up telling him and the other guy. Anyway, it kind of got around, and I didn't really want to make an issue out of it, if it got too big. But it's like it got out there, and it was just like everyone was coming up to me for the next couple days, just like, hey, if you need to, if anyone bothers you, we'll take care of them. Like there was such they respected us. They really did. The other inmates, there was such a respect, such a and it was cool. Even ones that in a lot of ways bought into the media. These guys have been in there for years. A lot of them that are there, they're watching the TV. They're just, of course they don't trust the government or the media, but they see it. And so some of them were not agreeing with us, but they would still, we had respect. And I just thought that was cool. Also, just as an encouragement, when you go through this stuff, it's not all, people will respect you when you stand up. Even if they disagree with you, there's that respect. And so even though it's tough, so that was just a cool thing that happened. They were all making sure nothing was really going to happen. And I did appreciate that.
All right, we have a question over here.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys, but first I want to say thank you for coming, because this has been a long time, and you're still putting that word out there and sharing your experience, strength, and hope, for lack of a better word. There was a man that had climbed a light pole at one time, and I remember Glenn Beck showing the footage of him, and he was on this light pole, and he had a megaphone, and he was directing people, and he kind of directed them into a trap, honestly. And the FBI, nobody claimed to know who this man was, even with all this facial recognition software. And I just wondered if, after all this time, if you had heard anything about that, or if you know who I'm talking about, or...
You guys, I don't want to talk with the sign.
No, they've, online, we have some different people that are collecting images, pictures of people. There's the scaffold commander, they've got names. There's, what's his name?
Ray Epps.
Ray Epps, yeah.
This was a video. This is a whole video.
Oh, yeah. So it's amazing they could pick Jason and I out halfway across the country and come and get us, but there's a lot of these people. There was Antifa there. I know it in my heart. I saw people bringing hammers and smacking windows, and that's the first thing they do at any riot. There's some kind of symbolic thing a guy in DC jail was telling me about, something about breaking the windows. some kind of poem or something. I don't know, some kind of communist thing. I don't understand. But
Raise your hand high. Okay, I'll work my way. 1, 2, and then 3. I'll work my way back.
There is video out there of Antifa changing out of Trump clothes. You know, they're out like in the bushes changing out of Trump clothes, and they were confronted, and they're like, you know, so it's a fact that they were out there for sure.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there's a lot of people, they don't know who they are, even though they got me by my sleeve. That's how they. I had a yellow stripe on my sleeve, and that's how they got me.
Hashtag yellow stripe.
Yeah. Hashtag yellow stripe.
Were you coerced into signing like confessions of your actions, or maybe told denounce what you did, denounce Trump, or face heavier prison sentences or whatever?
Yeah, so they really did work on us quite a bit to try to take a plea. Even me, which I can say, I can agree a lot with Cale and his story. A lot of similar situations where, you know, we didn't get swatted. We didn't get a lot of the really rough treatment in that way, but there was always that fear of, you know, if we don't, because all I got was the 4 misdemeanor charges, but there was that fear of, you know, if I don't just cooperate with them and take a plea, they could just, for no reason, just add on more other charges, and that was a very real fear that I had. That was something that actually really stressed me out, but at the same time, and I'm so thankful to my wife because she was so, if it hadn't been for her being so strong and so tenacious, like, oh no, we're gonna fight this, you know. Amen. And so she's a fighter. But yes, they did. In fact, at one point, they did what's called a reverse proffer, where they actually showed, because all this stuff was Zoom, you know, we're out here in Missouri, and they would do all these different hearings. And one of them was called a reverse proffer, where they show you what they have, kind of, yeah, some of what they have, kind of like, hey, this is what we got. We can really mess you up. But it is true that when I saw it, honestly, I'm like, that's what you have? That looks good. I mean, you know, that was my takeaway. Because you know how it is. I mean, going into that, it was scary. You know, you hate seeing yourself on video. You know, you'll be like, what did they see? Like, what did I look like? What did I really look like? But you know, I'm like, and my wife was saying that too, like, okay, that's, you know, that's what they had. And so, but it was still very intimidating and scary to think, what are we doing, you know, holding out against the government? But yes, to your question, yes, they did.
Who was
Something I found interesting, I just feel like I was abducted on October 28th. I was in physical federal custody for 111 days. I was never questioned by one single person. This is what you're charged with, and this is when your trial is going to be. No one ever tried to interview me. No one ever tried to ask me a single question. Not that I would have talked to them, but I just, and retrospectively, I'm like, that's wild to me that you're in custody that long and you are being portrayed as a domestic terrorist, and you have all of these serious charges that are going to put you away. Nobody even asked you one question or even attempted to say anything to you. It was literally an abduction at 9 o'clock at night and in federal custody for 111 days, which I just find that weird.
Yeah.
Were you given Miranda rights when you were arrested?
I was never read Miranda rights by anyone. So.
Wow.
Franklin County didn't read me Miranda. No one ever read me Miranda rights.
You told what you're accused of?
I didn't even know what the charges were until I saw the following Monday, 2 days after the arrest. I saw paperwork out of the District of Columbia from a grand jury, and then you saw the eight crimes they charged you with. So.
Okay, we have a question back here.
I heard somebody speak on with Vaughn Reagan this morning on KZIM, and you talked about people that came with you, they were not arrested, and the gentleman way on my right, you said that somebody came with you and didn't get arrested. What happened to them? And second question, are you afraid of retribution if somebody else gets into office in a couple of years? And then third question, are you guys writing a book?
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Isaac, you were on this morning.
Did you have one?
What?
Did you have one?
She was probably talking
Oh,
about the
okay.
guy. She was asking you about the guy with you.
Oh, yeah, so the guy that came with me, he did get questioned by the FBI. He pretty much slammed the door in her face and said, I'm not answering any questions. But he didn't, when the bullets started flying and the gas started flowing, he jetted. He's an older gentleman. He was in his 70s, Vietnam vet with a bad heart, and he was like, I'm out of here. I'm like, please, we don't want you going down. So yeah, he left and he went back to the hotel room later, which I probably should have followed, but I didn't. Yeah, he didn't, nothing happened to him, thank God. And,
Make sure you tell too that one of the reasons you were kind of pointed out is someone.
We can't hear you.
Someone close to us turned you in.
oh, well, yeah, so the reason the FBI even started looking at me is because they got an anonymous tip at January 7th from, they didn't disclose who it was, obviously it's anonymous, but only my family knew on January 7th that I was there.
It was a yellow stripe.
Yeah,
Yellow
yeah,
stripe.
and the yellow stripe, and my infamous yellow stripe, but yeah, so it was somebody from that we were assuming that's somebody from my family turned me in.
Wow. Okay, did that answer your questions, Donna? Okay.
Well, you gotta write a book.
Okay. So carry on. Next question. Oh, are you guys gonna write a book?
No, not me.
I have no desire to do that.
No desire? All right. All right.
I might,
If you have
I
a
might.
question, I'm sorry. If you have a question, please wait till you have the mic. We have one back here.
Is that a diary?
We elected people to help protect us, and we watched this all happen. We watched it happen to you and with you, and I kept waiting for congressmen or senators or somebody from the states that you belong to come in and say, this isn't right, and turn these people loose or treat them right. And we never saw any of that happening, and that just fueled it more and more of our disgust for people that we elected. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier that you never saw anybody. And that's when we elect people, we're going to have to be a lot more careful about what they will do to protect us from when they come. That's why we have the Second Amendment, is to try to protect ourselves. You were unable to protect yourself from the federal government, and your elected officials weren't there for you. We never saw it. Well, did you feel that you were left?
Did you feel you were alienated?
I can say unequivocally, yes. I feel like we were completely left by our elected officials. If it wasn't for my community, like I said, I live in a small town, from my community and my church family and my family, we would have been completely devastated. Our elected officials were, like I said, they avoided us like the plague. And I don't know if you guys want to speak on that or not. What's your opinion?
I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like.
I feel the same way too.
Yeah. And even today, I mean, how many Republican congressmen do you hear stand up and say, hey, these J6ers were mistreated? I mean, I never see them on any news outlet saying anything. It's kind of forgotten right now. Of course, there's a lot going on, but still, it's like, this is a huge deal. A lot of people got ruined.
we call them elected seat holders. There are very few officials and there are very few leaders, right? So they're elected seat holders.
Yes.
Okay, here's another question.
Seat holder's name on.
First of all, I would just like to say I'm very sorry that this happened to you, that our government lets you down in such a way. And I also want to say thank you for being there and standing up. Because probably half of this room or more would have been there also if they would have had the opportunity. So I just want to say thank you. And I do have a question. Did you ever, any of you ever feel like you were being entrapped? That the police was there to entrap you?
Oh, go ahead.
When I entered, because I walked into the Capitol, when I entered the Capitol, I realized that's, yeah, I wouldn't maybe put the word entrapment on it at the time, but it was a setup. Like, I looked and I realized, oh yeah, this is what they're doing. This is a setup. So yeah, and we realized it's exactly what it was. It was total entrapment. And then as it played out, realizing that they weren't, like when they looked into my case, for instance, and they kept pursuing me and eventually going, to prison and all that, realizing, they weren't just looking for people who actually did something. They were going after anybody and everybody. Now, why they picked some and not others, I don't know, because there's still several that they could, but they kept going after people, so maybe it just was a matter of time before they prosecuted 1 million people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw that.
At the time, I wasn't thinking about that. I think good people aren't capable of thinking of things that sneaky folks do. They're on a whole different level. But I'll tell you, whenever they took us to the federal courthouse, and the more I learned about what they had in our case, all the court dates, all that were just formalities. They just were going to put us in prison. They accused me of getting in a tussle inside the Capitol with the police officer, but they couldn't identify the police officer, although they could find me halfway across the country. It's just a mess, and like Jason said, the injury happened to a police officer, an FBI agent, who wasn't the original FBI agent that started the case. He inherited it somehow. I don't know how it happened. He wound up with it, and he was testifying at my bond hearing. He said that police officer got injured somewhere else completely different. My wife, I didn't bother to look at the discovery. It just made me sick. My wife looked. The woman that was injured couldn't identify either one of us, even as tall as he is. But then they picked him up because she saw somebody around 6'4" or whatever, and then his driver's license said he was 6'4" or whatever it is. And so that was good enough, Then they kept us together the whole time. We're on a charge together. We're co-defendants. You catch a couple of bank robbers. You don't let them sit in a jail cell and get their stories right. You separate them, and we're together the whole time. Like, what?
Literally the entire time.
Like, what the hell?
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay.
It's still a little unclear. I guess you all did enter the Capitol building. Is that correct?
I did.
I don't know what anybody else did. We entered the Capitol building and we're in there for about 20 minutes.
My thought, it goes to me as to what were you thinking when you went in? I mean, was there something you intended to accomplish there?
I just never been in there.
There was nothing to accomplish it. By the time we got up on the West Terrace and saw that there was open door, we just decided we wanted to go in it. We literally fought to get up on the West Terrace and wanted to go inside of the Capitol that day, so that's what we did.
It's our building.
There was no mission on the inside of it, though. We didn't touch anything, we didn't vandalize anything, we didn't steal anything. It was actually very eerie. The door we went through, it was broken open. I'm pretty certain it was broken open. I mean, I don't know if somebody opened that door from the inside or not, but it was open. But the inside of the Capitol was very eerie. There were, when we went in, there was this little foyer, and there was sirens going off. The entire hallway was just, it was covered. There was still a fog on the inside of it from smoke. It was pretty eerie, honestly. It was just more interesting, I guess.
And I'll speak probably for a lot of people here again, and we think that you're owed an apology for what happened. And do you ever think we'll hear something like that from the government?
Yeah, I don't want their apology.
Yeah.
Some of their money might be good. Go Mark.
Congratulations, thank you. A question, are you men able to vote now with your status? Are you able to vote, and are you able to carry a firearm? You can carry a firearm.
So I never went to trial, and I was never sentenced. When the pardon came on January 20th, I was within like 14 hours the very next day. My attorney had a letter, the charges were dismissed, and there's nothing on my record about it. So I can vote, and I can carry a firearm. They did not let me vote though when I was on, they made me jump through a bunch of hoops when I was on 370 days of house arrest. I wanted to vote, but they wouldn't approve it, and it took them 6 months to approve me even going to church. So
They ran out of mail-in ballots.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So leave it up there. Sorry, Bob. All right. You were next.
My question is, did you ever worry that Kamala Harris was going to get elected? You guys?
No, I think we were all worried about that. I was at peace with it. I honestly,
brain cells were.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, we just waited to see what happened. I had a lot of faith. I mean, he said God was by our side the whole time. I honestly feel the same way. There's so many things that happened throughout that entire journey where you would just be in a state of despair, and then you would cross paths with somebody, or somebody would say something, even a prison guard. When we first got into the DC County Jail, we were in a holding cell, and we were just like, oh my God, this place is hell on earth. It was horrible. And this particular guard came. I guess he just came on staff, and we were in just like a horrible state of mind, and just traveled across the country in shackles and in our diesel therapy. And this guard came, and he's like, hey, he looked in the cell, and he goes, J6ers? He's like, I'm on your side. And you're just like, really? After all this shit? So, there was tons of stuff that happened throughout all of that where you're like, man, God is literally standing here with us and gives you hope that when you need it the most, and does something for you to get you through. There's nonstop, really, for us.
I thought it was another setup. I was like,
yeah, don't talk to him.
Yeah, I'm like, this cop just said he's on our side.
Yeah.
But he ended up being real cool.
He was real cool.
He was very cool. We sat there and he just talked with us like human beings. And, I do want to say one funny story. So when you're in jail, you do court through the computer, like a Zoom call. And they took me out of our J6 pod, walked me through all these hallways, put me in a holding cell, waiting for somebody else to pick me up, and then take me to the computer in this little closet. And this was the day that my wife, my pastor, and my boss were all there to testify for me, saying, you let this guy out. And they left me in there for 2 hours, and those people, the people that loved me, stayed on the phone with them for 2 hours in that awkward silence. I think they were trying to get them to drop off the call. But they took me to the room. I'm sitting at this little computer, and I'm waiting, and I look to my right, and here's a file cabinet about this tall, and it said voter information on it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So everybody that comes to the DC jail, I mean, you're talking about criminals, regular criminals, J6ers, all kinds of people. They register every one of those people to vote. So on their voter rolls, they have hundreds, thousands of felons, criminals. Everybody that comes through the jail gets registered to vote.
It was a campaign to do that. Really?
Yeah.
So that's how DC's going 99% blue, so, in my opinion.
I just wanted to know if all of you didn't get your Miranda rights read to you.
I don't know. I just really don't remember.
You guys get Miranda?
So the only thing that came close, so the FBI, when they initially contacted me, it was on the road. They saw me on the road. They said I didn't have to talk. It wasn't like an official reading, but there was that understanding. Look, you don't have to talk, but probably be better if you did, that sort of thing. So.
The question was, did they get their Miranda rights read to them? Whoever wanted to know that. Okay. I'm sorry, somebody else's hand. Oh, the answer was they don't remember. Most of them don't remember, right?
It's probably really a no. Officially no, I would say, because I know for me it was no, and nobody else remembers.
Big deal.
All right, somebody right here. Okay, yes. Oh. I was going to try to repeat what he said, but he's just going to say it himself.
They don't have to read Miranda unless you're already in custody being charged with something and they're asking you guilt-seeking questions. So they have to ask you guilt-seeking questions after you're in custody. If they just arrest you on a warrant, they're not compelled to read you Miranda. It's simply so you understand you don't have to speak with them if you don't want to.
Thank you.
All right, super, thank you. Okay, Janet and then Linda. And we've got about 8 minutes or so.
I just wanted y'all to know, thank you for being here, and all those years I watched this as it was going on. I prayed for y'all, but I think there was something bigger. I hate to say it, but I think you all were used, and you were used to send a message to the rest of us to know our place and to stay in our place.
I just want to know, were you, since they kept all J6ers together, were you with any of the J6ers, apparently they were J6ers, that were breaking doors and breaking windows? The Antifa people, were you in a cell with any of them?
Zach Alam was in a cell right next to me, known Antifa. He was the person that broke the window when Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed. And he was in the J6 pod, known Antifa, and he was not well received.
So did they get a harsher sentence than you got, or did you follow along with what they got?
I never really followed along with it, to be honest with you. Worried about my own skin.
That's the only person you know?
That's the only person that I know of specifically that was probably on the other side that was in the jail. So.
Okay, all right. And thank you again for coming and being brave and sharing your story. Thank you.
Actually, I've got a little bit of a comment about a heads up of what's going on right now. There was supposed to be a nationwide competition right up the road in Farmington, Missouri, and there was SWAT teams from all over the United States. They canceled it. It was supposed to be this week. They canceled it because there's so many of them going to DC right now. They called them out of the competition to go to DC. So just a heads up.
Oh wow!
The SWAT team competition in Farmington, and it was like a 5-day deal, and they canceled it. They called SWAT. There was a SWAT team competition in Farmington, Missouri, and it was a nationwide event. And there were several of the competitors, the teams, were called to DC, so they had to cancel the event.
Interesting.
Unrelated to this, but just a heads up.
Thank you, sir. I hope they're deputizing them and going around to all the members of Congress. I will sign up to visit them on Sunday, though. I would like to just go up there and see Nancy Pelosi up through the glass. Yeah. Peacefully and patriotically, of course.
Just wondering if the Antifa person was pardoned as well, since he was a January 6th.
100%.
Let me I've done a lot of conversating about this. So a lot of people were upset saying, okay, we know Zach Lum, Sullivan, all these guys, Antifa, through and through. They shouldn't get pardoned. Here's my thing. Pardon everybody. Pardon all the J6ers. Those guys have done enough that they can get picked up on something else easily. You know, there's conspiracies through and through. There's all sorts of charges they can be picked back up on. But why pick this guy and not this guy? Just let all the J6ers go. Then, you know, continue the investigation if that's what they're actually going to do. So.
All right.
First off, I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank you all for your bravery. I was also there, and I was also very up close to the Capitol. I could have went in if I wanted to, if I could get through all the tear gas and the junk that they threw at us. And so many people have questioned me because what you saw on TV was nothing of what it was there.
Amen. Amen.
Nothing.
Including Fox.
I saw people with backpacks. I saw them going under trees and taking off their Trump shirt whenever we got up to the Capitol, and you know, changing and putting on gas masks. So they already knew what was going on, what was going to happen. It was an amazing event, and honestly, I was kind of worried for quite a while that because I know I was close enough that I'm on somebody's camera. But I guess they just randomly, you know, oh, we'll get that one, and we'll take that one, and we'll take that one, just to make their point. Whoever said what they wanted to do was show us how to behave, what we were supposed to do. And I am proud of you guys. I'm proud of your bravery. I'm sorry for what you had to go through, and I thank God for watching over you.
Amen.
I just want to say, so it was like 2.5, almost 3 years before we got arrested. Those were the worst 2.5, 3 years of my life. I would go home a different way every day, looking behind me. You know, I just knew it was coming soon. The car would drive up the street. I'd get a look in the window, and my wife's like, "What are you looking in the window for?" I'm like, I didn't want to put all my worries onto her. I didn't want her to worry if she didn't have to, but she understood. So the people that were in DC on the 6th, I know you guys went through it too. So it was a lot. It was a majorly traumatic 4 years that we all went through.
Helen?
The young lady back here that mentioned that she was there also. Do you know if there was any women J6ers arrested?
There's quite a few actually. You know, I know that they were housing women in the DC jail in a section just across from us. There was actually couples, husbands and wives that were arrested, and in the same jail, unable to see each other, just in different areas of the jail. So there's definitely, I don't know the number of women J6ers, but there's definitely quite a few of them.
Excuse me. I would just like to hear from some of the women, the mom, the wives, if you're willing to just share a little bit of your story of how hard it was. I mean, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, talk to my wife.
I mean, which one?
The one with the baby.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Jared's wife. He actually got arrested on our oldest first birthday, to the day. And they came, it was local police, Farmington, and they came up to our side door. And they asked me where he was, and he was in the shower. And then they just came in and arrested him in front of me, our son, and my parents. And then the FBI came on Monday morning. There's like 20 cars, all had guns pointed at me and my mom, arrested both of us. They were there for like 4 hours. And then they told us where Jared was, and so we went up there. So it was, I'm glad Laura was going through it with me, actually, even though she's probably not, but because she was the only one who knew what I was going through, you know.
It was endearing to see you at the first appearance.
Oh yeah, we were very surprised to see each other the first time. But I will say I never had a doubt that God was going to get us through no matter what. He just kind of showed himself to us and to me. A woman at our church that I never talked to before came up, and she was like, I don't know what you're going through, but God does, and he asked me to tell you that whatever you're praying for, you will have. Just praise me in the waiting. And she knew nothing of what Jared was going through, what I was going through. And she did that twice in the whole year that we were on house arrest, and he was in prison. So I don't know if you have any other questions for me, but that's basically it. And no matter what you're going through, God's in the waiting, and I saw him through that. And I knew even if Jared was going to prison and wouldn't be able to even meet our youngest baby here, that it would be okay even though he was away. So.
He wants to do it. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi.
I didn't prepare anything for this, but my name's Laura. I'm Jason's wife. I'll just say kind of what Rachel had said. God really had our back. I know that Jason was going through his own world of hurt and jail and uncertainty, and I sometimes felt like I was lying to myself, trying to instill some faith in the situation that we'd get through it, and we serve a big God, and he's bigger than the government. A lot bigger than any of the leaders who got us in that position. So you are a little wiggle bar. We did have each other, and it's a strange situation, and having somebody who's going through it, which there's very few who could understand what that was like. And we were each other's support system, and our church was a big deal. And people would just show up randomly after a church service and give me an envelope with money in it, and they're like, our church group got this together for you guys. We know that you're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. And there was a lot of little winks from God during the chapter we just went through, but it's all over and we're just moving forward.
Amen.